Call the meeting back to order. We are on item 13.1, the CAO's report and action list. Can I get a motion on this one? Councillor Yushishin?
The council received CAO David Joy's report and action was related.
Thank you. And with that, I'll turn it over to the CAO.
One item I missed putting on here was March 31st, that long email to Mr. Shumter. So I haven't heard any comments from council, but I hope it was well received by council and that I addressed Mr. Shumter's concerns. But that took quite some time to put together.
Anything else you want to highlight?
And certainly, you know, a lot of things are knocked off the list. But if you, that you see in blue, still, see how many, there's only, really, I think they've all either been completed or there's work being done. So try to keep up to date with this and try to limit, you know, on the last meeting, the last two meetings, there were about 22, 25 actions. Just like with my emails, it bothers me that there's things out there that haven't been addressed. So I like to keep on top of it. And hopefully in the future, we'll keep them pretty low.
That's it. That's it. Okay, I'll open the floor for questions. For CAO. Comments.
What did you do? That's
No.
Maybe. You sent the letter off regarding the Yakashie. Have we heard from the,
no. I haven't.
that's something I really want us to stay on top of that. And
This is the correspondence you're on that.
okay. Well, I mean, it's that was sent, it said it was sent on the 4th. I just, I mean, it is the, what is it, 8th, 9th, whatever it's, you know, thinking maybe something showed up in the last couple of days. We have to stay on top of this. I don't want to accept it. Well, we're waiting on a report. You're waiting on a report, you're stalling.
I heard from a resident that they've heard that they might be moving ahead and not here. But nothing confirmed, just.
This is why we have to stay on it.
That's exactly what I
Yeah.
I said, we're on it, we'll wait. But we
Yeah.
need to stay on once the rumors start circulating, right? What's true, what's not going on out there, so.
Rumors have a nasty habit of festering into fact around here. So I'd really like us to stay on top of this. You know, CC, MLA Sinclair and Premier Smith and Minister McIver and who's the minister in charge of this?
Cyril.
Cyril. Yeah, all of them. And you know what, and the opposition too. If they've got a shadow minister for that department and send it to the leader of the opposition, then she as well. Because I don't want to let this go.
So when you say, stay on top of it, what exactly does that look like? Because that's the thing, we can say things, but if we have a plan or if we have an idea, it's gonna go farther than if we're just, you know, sometimes the squeaky wheel doesn't get the grease. Squeaky wheel ends up binding up.
And, you know, I sent this April 3rd and it goes by mail. So we aren't gonna, you know.
Oh, sense now,
3-4 days to get there and I'm depending on a response from a ministry.
okay, well,
For me to call them up.
yeah, no, and I didn't realize it was snail mail, so.
But I think like, I like that you wanna stay on top of it, but we need to be more than that. We need to have a plan. We need to figure something out.
I think we need to wait and hear what they have to say.
Yeah, well, we find out what they have to say first, but if we get to the next meeting and we haven't heard from them, it's. Guys, we're still here.
Well, we should need to hear before.
Yeah. There's plenty.
Can we set up a meeting with Child Services? Dude there, whatever his name is, what's his name? Edward.
Yeah.
Even if it's a video chat or something. Whatever, I mean, Counselor Winkle said, you know, CC the MLA and the Shadow Ministries or whatever. I don't know if involving, at this point, involving Pearson will do any good.
He's busy.
Let's give them till next meeting to see if they respond and what they respond, how they respond, and if, you know, depending on the answer, we'll move from there. That's what I'm thinking anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's like easy, Dave.
Regarding the cabin. Have you received any bids on the cabin?
No, two, sorry.
The, whatever. You? Okay,
It's open for another month.
yes, I know. I was just curious if anybody had formalized anything for that.
We have competition because Peace River has their tourist cabin for sale too.
Oh,
Same reason.
I don't know, I imagine some big use.
Councilor Stenhouse,
Motion 102-25.
What page, Judy?
30. It would be from the bottom, it is a motion made by myself that council directs administration to clarify accounting numbers regarding the increase in taxes on the Lord's apartments and have administration contact the town assessor on a proper process needed to have the building reassessed. Your comments are, say, denied, completed.
Assessor is sent the final email to Cameron. And there's no more to be done. Cameron can appeal and the assessor gave him direction on how we can do it. So there's nothing more that council or administration can do in this matter. That's between the assessor and the property.
Okay, and my next question is, I don't know if anyone else has noticed, but all the garbage cans that have been emptied on the ground around town. And I noticed that our flower pot is missing from in front of the doors. Is there a reason?
Flower. What's the garbage cans have to do with the flower?
That's where we would butt our cigarettes and it's gone.
I'll have to ask. I don't know if something's been moved there.
And has our peace officer or public works noticed that someone has emptied all the garbages in the town?
Like,
As in the garbage is spread, they've dumped it.
who's over? And going,
somebody.
somebody.
It could be the houseless people, or it could be birds.
No.
I took my garbage down one day before we had these new bins. And I had it down the end of my driveway for about 5 minutes. And I took a look out my window and the birds had spread it 2 blocks.
No, it's on, private streets. It's the responsive, it's my understanding.
No, these are the town, it's by medicine shop, we have a little tourism placard booth there too, also.
By my street, by the
I don't know where your street
medicine
is.
shop.
Yes.
I live behind the medicine shop. Is there another medicine shop here?
Yeah, the old United Church, right?
Pardon me?
The old United Church?
Yes.
By Silverwood, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so there's a little tourism placard that explains the town of Highbury. There's benches and stuff there. That garbage has been emptied, garbage scattered. Geez, it's just, I noticed on all the garbages. Where else now?
So you want Public Works to clean it up?
Well, somebody needs to clean it. It looks terrible. It really does.
Okay, well, I'll notify
Yeah,
Mike.
Yeah.
He's,
And I-
he's listening tonight, I'm sure.
and that's why I was asking about this one in the front. It's gone now. Is that the reason why these garbage cans are being removed because of this?
I'll find that out.
I think that's it.
Councillor Martins?
David, just a follow-up question, if I may. The letter that you sent to Mr. Thurton, to Minister Thurton, how did you copy others? Did you send other mail pieces as well, or
No, just the letter.
just to the minister though, or anyone else? Did you not send it to the premier or MLA?
I don't think if I, no, because I don't think I put it on the letter copy. If I was sending it to somebody else, I'd have CC
Yeah.
premier or whatever.
Like, no,
But I think straight to the minister.
Okay, and and that's wonderful. Just a suggestion that you also follow up via email, because emails, like, to the ministry, and it's easier to just copy everybody than say hand delivered by mail. Just a suggestion.
Remember where the garbage cans went?
Where?
I know, hospital site.
But is this recently or?
Yeah, it's in the last couple of days. They just,
Anything else? Seeing nothing, we had the motion to receive for information. All in favor? Carried. Correspondence. Start off with the golf club. One. I have a request for that. For contributing to their operating budget. The county contributes 11,000. They were asking us for 11,000 per year. Go.
Is this,
There was mention of this in the ICF meeting we had, that they were wondering if we'd be willing to contribute more to the, or contribute to the golf club.
because
And so
do
this
we not back, don't they take out a loan or whatever and
Yeah.
back them on that loan?
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes fine.
and we also replaced their furnaces and their refrigeration a few years ago.
We did contribute to some capital items here. Sort of as a one-time deal.
So this isn't, this is, they want a lot, they want a budget line item every year. Instead of that, and they want us to go sign or back them on that loan guarantee.
Correct.
Is there a motion on the floor already?
No, we just explaining it. We should get a motion on this one. Councilor Martins.
I move to receive for information.
Okay, thank you. More discussion on this one? Councilor Stenhouse.
So years back when they would come to get their renewal of their line of credit that we co-signed for, they used to give us a report, and I have not seen the golf club in here giving a report in the last few years.
I believe they send in their financial statement. I believe they send in their financial statements to the town. I don't know if council has received them or not. I can't remember if we have we? So I see some people saying.
Not
yes.
recently.
No,
Not
not the
recently,
last few
okay.
years.
Yeah.
Last couple of years.
The statement was sent to, I'm just reading here on February 3rd. Received their financial statements,
Not to us.
not to council. It would have come into administration.
David, you might have it, I don't know.
Hmm.
It would have come to you.
Yes.
You made-
But I guess it's not real. I mean, they've been doing reasonably well in the last year or two, but obviously they've got lots of things that they'd like to do more of and do better, and they're asking if we would contribute because the county contributes. That's where they're coming from, right? Every organization can use money. And it is an asset to High Prairie and area. People use it.
Oh, we can-
Councillor Waco.
Do we not actually own that land?
Yes. But you gotta remember, this is contracted out to them.
Oh, no, I understand that, but I mean, the flip side of it is, they could, if they walk away from it, we gotta run a golf course.
Councillor Tanaka.
So when we started the budget deliberation, we were asked by the Slave Lake Tourism to front for X amount of dollars. CRC came and asked us to have a long-term amount of whatever, 15 or 20,000 it was. Then the Big Lakes Bus came and asked us to, I can't remember what their request was for a steady stream of funding. And now we have the golf course. So if you're, I guess it depends on how you look at it. Is one more valuable than the other? Because we didn't fund CRC to the tune that they were asking. I can't remember what we did with the bus, but I think that went back to the ICF because we never committed to increasing that.
Not yet, but it's a budget discussion coming up.
Yeah, on the 23rd. So we have like the bus, CRC, like tourism, now we have. So are you valuing one more than the other? In terms of, is funding the CRC better than funding the golf course or the bus? Like, you know, do you understand where I'm coming from? Do you see what sort of my thought process is here? In terms of, yes, it's an asset. And I think we've had this discussion numerous times when the golf course comes up, when they asked us for funding, as Councillor Stenhouse said a couple years ago, for whatever, we ended up paying 15,000 or something for the furnace and something else, the deck or something. So I really would like to see their financial statement, if it's possible. And just to see what they generated revenue wise, because it doesn't say it here. They just said they had 11,000 rounds of golf, but I would really like to see their budget before I make a decision. Because I have no information here. They're just asking.
I think it's a reasonable request, and also, they're asking for 11,000, but there's nothing, if we want to give something, since our residents do use the golf course, I mean, we could say 5,500. But, we're backing a loan, we provided them with the land, we've done a lot already, but
Right.
out of the consideration.
And we do a lot of in-kind too, because I believe we suck their sewers out
Yep.
and help them repair their bridges and stuff like that. So, but I would still like to see their financial statement before I make a decision on how much I'm willing to spend.
Okay, Councilor Martins?
So I certainly like that, Councillor Tanaka, that we, make a more informed decision. I'll say this, it's not gonna be popular, but, golf tends to be a bit of a luxury sport. I mean, and we have an economic downturn, we have an affordability crisis. We are using our taxpayers' money to potentially consider funding on an ongoing basis a luxury sport. I'd like to know if this was something else, let's say hockey, what kind of backlash we face for, let's pretend Jane Doe doesn't golf, using Jane Doe's family's tax dollars to fund. I think we subsidize them more than we do. Like, what stops every organization from coming to us then with hey, can you add a line item here? Like I said, it wasn't gonna be a popular comment. I really thought about not making it, but keep in mind that we're not talking about social programs or social impacts. We're talking about funding potentially. Even if we look at the financials, at one point a couple of years ago, they tried to run a kitchen. I mean, there's business development ideas that could, even if they're books, Donna, I think things like that. Have a tournament funded with fundraising. Get the patrons who really utilize the golf course to kind of do more. I think our town, this would be a luxury item, and I don't see it benefiting all. There's not an equity piece here for me, so that's just my comment.
It's a good point. I just out of some perspective, we subsidize the hockey program. We don't charge what it costs to the hockey teams, for us to preserve the ice and provide the facilities. So we do subsidize for the children's programs. Golf is more or less an adult. There's teenagers that play too and young kids. But and just as an aside, I mean, there is some participation by residents here and businesses that want to take their clients out to golf in High Prairie. I don't know.
Well, then look for a corporate sponsor, right? Or look for a conglomeration of corporate sponsors. I mean,
Not disagreeing.
no, I know. It was not this popular comment.
I'm a tennis player and not a golfer in this thing, but just saying,
Cheaper.
on the record.
Cheaper sport, love it.
Hey, any more discussion on this? We had the motion to receive for information, all in favor? It's carried. Moving on to sponsorship request for the High Prairie Powwow. Get a motion on this one? Councilor Waco.
I'll move that, we sponsor, Kenna, do you know how much we did last year?
$1,000.
What,
1,000.
that's okay.
That's what I had this year. Yeah,
That's what I have, 1,000.
Wolf is 250.
am I looking at the,
So Moose.
Moose is 500, Wolf is 1,000 on the page I have.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, that's the page I have too.
This is mine, Moose is 1,000.
No.
So if you go on page 37,
Yeah, on page 37,
There's a chart.
yeah,
But it doesn't add up with the other page.
what's the other page? Just help me out.
Page 34 at the very bottom, it
34.
says sponsorship opportunities for 2025.
Oh,
Someone called to cut and paste them all.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's the-
That's probably what it, would you, 1,000 you're thinking about it? Or that's what we did last year, okay, so I'll make the motion that we sponsor the recreational powwow to the tune of $1,000 out of our council, fund there, whatever the animal is. And, I don't know how we're gonna divvy it up, but you can take part of that out of mine.
All right, well, I'll ask, maybe just quickly go around, Counselor Tanaka, would you contribute to that 1,000?
Yes,
Okay, Counselor Yashishin?
Yes.
Okay, I would, Counselor Martins, yes, Counselor Dunn,
Yes.
Counselor, okay. So we've got 6 of us, to split the 1,000. All right, all in favor? Right, moving on to, the grant for the fire services.
Okay, where are you now?
I'm on, page 38.
We received it.
Oh,
We moved that we received for information.
Okay,
did you look at the bottom of that letter we was CC'd to?
Yeah, back rent. Like that.
I didn't even notice that. That's classic. A little behind the times there. This was probably, they've really, put, yeah,
Scratch that.
yeah. Okay, any questions on this one? All in favor? Alright. This letter of support for the Youth Assessment Center, this is the one that was sent out. I'll make the motion, we received this for information, we've been talking about it. Anything else on this? All in favor? Carried. Moving on then, upcoming meetings. Our committee of the whole this Saturday. Any questions?
Yep, it'll be up tomorrow morning.
Okay.
I'll review it, send any questions I have.
Okay. And everybody else able to make it? Just James?
I'm unsure.
It?
And budget, 23rd.
Yeah. no, that's- Okay, anything else to mention here? All right, moving on to our reports. Counselor Tanaka. No report. Counselor Dunn.
Met with Children's Resource Council.
Done.
Last. Oh, yeah. Sorry, it's been long. Last Monday. They actually are wanting to come in. Have you received a letter from, no, David?
I'm sorry.
Have you received a letter from Noah from the Children's Resource Council? Because he would like to come back and do another presentation. Just give some clear answers and chat about what the community event that they host the community and give a few more options in terms of donations as well. And there was discussion we heard from the daycare people. And so there's things that are taking place in the community around daycare. we're not sure where we sit on everything right now, because we do have the programs that we have. And those are going well. And then I got a letter from the animal, this is what I knew about the beavers, Animal Alliance of Canada Fund. And here it is, beavers, our partners in forest fire mitigation. Should have given that to him. And but it's just they wanted to know if we would commit to being both around beavers and geese. There's information. I don't know if you want to write a letter back or if you want me to write a letter back to say we don't really have an issue with geese in the city. Because they always get shot.
Not against the law.
No, to
No.
shoot geese?
To shoot geese.
Not here.
Not at all.
They taste good.
Lots of people make goose sausage.
Yes.
So, anyway. And what I don't, is that something you want? So, do we need to respond to it? Cause I will. Just say thanks for it.
Did they ask for a response or did they was sending a form
No, they,
letter? out?
they said that they would respond to any questions. So if you guys want to read this and have questions, they just said, thank you for taking the time to consider best management practices regarding human wildlife conflicts and for thoroughly evaluating your approach so as to find and implement the most cost-effective, safe, long-term, sustainable, environmentally responsible, and humane solutions that are possible. We would be pleased to discuss this letter with you at it.
I think we could pass it on to the watershed council.
Okay.
I'd like to comment on that.
And what's that? Passing it on to the watershed.
Yeah, I would pass that on to the county, because the county actually hires people to blow up beaver dams.
Damn, you know, that's why it
And
was,
they have been classified as a nuisance. They've been overpopulated and they've been classified. So it all depends who you talk to.
and that's what I said, like, has there been any thought around, well, because I went in and looked at this, it's rather interesting, that, and found out, yeah, beavers create the way they build their dams and stuff is to create a higher water plane in places that are dry. And so that impacts, the possibility for fire and everything else, but.
But to a farmer, that's
I know.
overland flooding,
Yeah.
that impacts their crop and their cattle
Yeah.
pasture. So, yeah, it's a good debatable one, but yeah, I think the county might appreciate it more than the watershed.
The Watershed's got county people on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I will move my report, my verbal report for information.
Okay, any questions, comments? Council. Comments, yeah.
Just today, we had a meeting, and the daycare came up because from the attraction standpoint, that was one of our survey. We were filling in our new RPAP, representative. And so one of the things, we have an action list just like our CAO, and one of the things is to invite CRC back. So is that imminent? Like, are we in a daycare fairly, because he did present to us at one point and
Who, all of their.
correct now. So is that daycare like soon? I mean, lots of people are very interested in this daycare.
So that's the daycare that I was talking about has nothing to do with this year's. It is, there is a committee that has been formed that is looking at taking over the present daycare and adding spaces to it. So the CRC itself is in a process now of, as we have that happening, so now we have to go back and null and, well, the whole board rethink some things for ourselves and do some actual number crunching and figure out, you know, if the need's there and what we want to do.
Needs there, so this is CRC you're talking about.
Yeah,
Didn't the daycare people come and present to council?
Yes,
we did. They were not from the CRC.
No, no, so, yeah. You might have missed that one.
But the CRC daycare isn't.
I'm not saying it's not happening. I'm just saying right now we're step back and just reevaluate some things because they're gonna be applying for money. We're gonna be applying for money, and so.
Okay, anything else for Councillor Dunn? All in favor? It's carried. Councillor Martins.
Okay, so I have, couple of things to update on, two of which are actual questions from, two different ratepayers. One, I was questioned about the park. I thought this is the park right behind the fire hall. I did not know some things, like the fire hall was extended. The patron was concerned about losing park space to more concrete. They questioned why the courts wouldn't be where the tennis courts were. I assured them that I asked the question about green space, and we were keeping some of that intact. The real question was, you know, I didn't know about the fire hall extension. This must have been before my time. I don't know how much space was lost, but those were the questions. I said I would bring it here, so I'm bringing it here. I don't necessarily have answers. I don't know, David, you do, or what is the, like, and I also thought that there was public engagement in some way, that we were sure that this is what was wanted. Is there going to be any sort of like questioning about why we're doing this, or? So that's one. I'll go through them and then.
Okay.
Second, and I will quote the question, will outcomes be summarized in a future public meeting? And this was in regards to the in-camera sessions that we have regarding hiring / org changes / policy updates, because it was unclear what that was about. I just said, you know, it's all about the same thing. We have a recurring standing. That was my response, was that we have a recurring standing, kind of a discussion. But that was the question. I'm bringing it to council. I'm not sure if we'll do anything about it or how we will summarize in meetings or in minutes going forward. The question was, will outcomes be summarized in a future public, like in a future public meeting? And it's just a question I said I would bring forward. I did. The next was with RPAP and the county administration. We were planning our April 24th meeting. We have a new representative. She's wonderful. RPAP has taken it upon themselves to present a new toolkit. So the two things, well, there were a few things that came from that meeting. One, which is that Rural Health Week is upcoming May 22nd. So we'd like to recognize our healthcare workers. We're considering options like an ad in the newspaper and other things. There'll be a discussion for the committee. Secondly, the mayor had sent along I believe it's the government of Canada that's putting on this annual welcoming day. And it was like in September. And so it's on our agenda for, RPAP actually loves that idea. She hadn't heard of it before. So thank you for sending that over. There's other good news. We were selected for the Let's Go Rural. This is an initiative that is, for homegrown talent, you know, so we're having like a school demonstration. It's early, so I don't have a lot of details. We'll get it at the April 24th meeting. And then finally, you and I gave you a slight update on the United Way facilitators for that workshop on the socioeconomic Development is actually being facilitated by the Social Impact Lab. Their focus is actually going to be different this year than it was last year. Remember, they have Think Marketing that facilitated a different facilitator. And the second day they'll produce a framework, and we all get, a month later, we'll get the output from that. That is all I have for now. I will welcome questions and move my report for information. Oh, and additionally, sorry, Mayor, I put a written report by your desks for the Boreal Water Management event. And the next one I'll work on is RMA.
Councillor Wakefield.
The park space one, I can answer that question. The fire hall was extended, that farthest bay was added on, and yes, that chewed out some of the park there. Where the courts are going, the basketball court and the pickleball courts that will be integrated in there, that is going where the really old equipment is, that is a safety hazard, so that's all getting yanked out. I think as soon as the ground is thawed out, then they're gonna put the courts there. So as far as space that's being lost, none.
So there'll be the play. I guess this was from a young family that was concerned about play space and not having it anywhere else. Kind of, and I remember asking Mike and Seaham, you know, will we have the green sitting space? And I think it was a concern for green space and picnic space in the town.
Yeah, that it's the equipment that's being removed, you can't use right now. I do believe it's roped off.
So the skate park isn't being touched, is it?
So that's kind of a record update there. That's where it's going. And the equipment that's being taken out is, you can't use it right now. Is it roped off? We're told, I think it was supposed to be.
I don't know if it's roped off.
And then
Yeah.
I didn't know, I know the question has come up, I believe the mayor or somebody answered why the existing courts can't be by the tennis courts. Would there be
Space.
not only space, but are we duplicating, shouldn't all the courts be in one spot? I didn't have an adequate answer for that question, so.
There's town staff right there that can sweep them off if there's glass and stuff, right, from the arena. That's part of the thinking there. So that answers that question. I looked at your report here that you gave on the, what is this, the way, yeah, this one here. Yeah, so the park partner with their local watershed team to pilot a drought response plan. Did they not participate in that? I thought they had input.
There was a DEM plan like last year, or I don't know, I'm sure they'd be involved, but I don't know. That was one of the.
Yeah, I thought, because when we came up with the different levels and stuff, I thought that they were.
Were they a stakeholder? Good question.
I thought they had something to say on it. And then I have to look up and see what peatland restoration is. That I'm like, what the hell's that? And
So apparently it sequesters carbon in a big way. We have just south of us a lot of peat harvesting,
okay,
but it's valuable stuff. I didn't realize it.
look that up.
There's leases all over.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, especially.
It's being harvested like there's no like.
3 night bodies.
Okay, anything else? Nothing?
Well-
Move to report for, oh,
No, are we going to answer your second question?
Will outcomes be summarized in a future public meeting?
Yes.
I'm like,
Or like what outcomes?
I ask for this every meeting when we come on the main camera, that I would like a brief summary to know, instead of saying that we just on a camera.
But that defeats the purpose of being the camera.
well, no, I don't think, so what you're saying is different. You're asking for like, we're going in camera for personnel, a summary, so we remember. This person was asking about, how do I know, like, were there any decisions made?
No.
Not divulging any proprietary or, let's say it was a discussion with a firm, not discussing any of those contractual agreements, but had a meeting with a potential prospect for land development or sidewalk development, things like that was the question, I think, if I'm paraphrasing correctly.
Well, and if decisions are made, they're not made in camera, they have to come out and be made. So there was no official motions coming out.
It could be something simple as, you know, had a good discussion regarding, organization, org chart or organizational, with our administrator or our CAO, like something like that. Nothing's divulged, we're not saying anything good, bad, ugly, nothing. I don't know if that was the question.
But how is that any different from what I've been asking for?
I thought you wanted the titles or something, I forget what you asked. Sorry. Did you ask?
Okay, we can, I think at this point, there's no other answer. We can go around on that one. It could be another agenda topic.
My job is just.
But I mean, we've ran around that one a few times. So, you know, if there is something that we do make that motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a lady that came to our council chambers a long time ago, and said, hey, you know, how do I understand some of this? Like, can you simplify and put it in English? I think this was along the same lines. You know, how do I have clarity or transparency over, or just simplification over what that was? Because it's just, you and I know, you know, it's so rote for us that we know. But perhaps it's, you know, for someone picking up our agenda for the first time, what is that? You know, was there something important that came out of it? Was there an important discussion? How do we inform the public that it was a simple ongoing standing event, even something like that? That's very innocuous. There's nothing, you know, food for thought for council.
Okay, I had the motion to receive for information. All in favor? Carried. For myself. Next minor report for one. Had a couple of meetings. The big one, the main one was recreation. Just to give you some of the key things is that the splash park contract, as we know, went out to the company, PlayQuest. They've been down to look at the site and to meet with the town and go over any issues with the site. They're looking at starting probably in May. They want to get going right away. They were here, eager to get started. And it is going to take some work from our to set up the water and sewer hookup, and also the town's responsible for getting power to the main area. So those are some, I'm going to say, additional costs that I thought might have been included, but after talking with them, it wasn't. So the arena, coming from the arena, some of the things that's been going on there, they hosted the U15 provincials and the Star Sycamores tournament. They are hosting the gun show April 27th, 28th. They've got the powwow on May 3rd and the EW Pratt Grad on May 24th. The exterior doors have been ordered and will come in. There's still the issue of the leaky roof. They are they've ordered the golf simulator. They would kind of like to put it upstairs, but to put it upstairs would mean a lot of work. Now, by a lot of work, what do you mean? Well, I should say maybe 150,000 or more to get it up to good standards. So just understand that. We did go and look at the facility and walk around it and took a good look at it. So there's again an old building needing some TLC. The pool, they've hosted a couple of special swims, like a Valentine's swim, a glow swim. They hosted a PD day, sort of one-day camp for kids while they were off school. And they are looking at, and not necessarily the pool, but recreation is looking at starting out the summer kids camp again, which they used to have years past. And our rec manager figures that they can get that camp going again within the existing budget. So it would not be an extra cost. And I also attended the ASHA conference with Alberta Seniors and Community Housing Association as part of the Heart River Housing. I went down to that. It was good. Very focused on housing, but got to meet lots of people there. Some good breakout sessions. Yeah. Some ideas coming out of it. So with that, I'll move my report for information. I'll take any questions if anybody has any.
What's the first thing you mentioned in your report, sorry?
Water park. Splash park, recreation, yeah. No, sir, didn't I?
This, splash park that is being installed or soon to be. At the gun show last year, we had the different 1, 2, 3. Is it going to be the one that was chosen?
That was all
Those
just,
diagrams were
yeah.
all,
It was the same diagram, just different angles.
What?
Those diagrams that we were presented were the same diagram, but different angles, different zooms.
Okay,
It was very good that way, but
Okay.
it is I'll call it middle of the road option
okay.
in terms of dollars, right? Or just over $500,000 for the park. So yeah, it's middle of the road. You can go less and you can go more.
So it's gonna cost us, by what you just said, $100,000. Because the Buchanan Foundation gave 400,000. You just said 500,000.
Yes, we have to contribute some to it. But I believe that they've upped their contribution to a total of 500,000, right?
That's right.
But 50,000 of that is for operating expenses.
So the town has to contribute something.
Yeah.
To this.
Yeah, and the county will also.
Okay.
I believe they said they would.
So did the citizens know this? That there's costs, even though they think it's all covered?
I
Operating costs.
operating costs or capital costs.
The actual park itself. It's Buchanan's Foundation covered 400,000 of that, plus $10,000 maintenance for 5 years.
Yeah, oh, 450.
Or wait, so now you're saying that Buchanan Foundation bumped their donation to 500,000?
So 450 for 450 for construction and 50 for operation.
So we still have to come up with
$100,000.
$100,000. Okay, so I didn't know that.
Neither did I.
Yeah, we did. It was in the budget discussions.
What budget discussions? The one, I don't remember that. I remember the 400,000 and the 10,000, but whatever. Okay,
Counselor Stenos?
Can you talk about this leaky roof?
Yes, they've got a leak in where the sports palace comes into the flat roof. And it's leaking there. And they also have another leak in the Gordon Buchanan Center. One of the same leaks that was supposedly fixed a few years ago.
That was my next question, was how many times have we fixed the roof and the connecting, how many times? Is this not a warranty thing? Can you give more information on that?
Yes, they actually had the other company come out and it wasn't the area that they fixed, it's another area. So no, it isn't covered by warranty, and I have the very same frustration you do. How many times do we have to fix this roof? Because done some
Yes.
major roofs, and these were guys that, oh yeah, this is gonna be good. It's, you know, and,
We completely did the one roof because they drilled holes through it.
yeah.
And that was only a few years ago.
Yeah, and well, there's only one leak now in the Gordon Buchanan Center, so that's a good thing. But
And that's, but the Buchanan Center one is the one that we haven't checked to see if that's a warranty part yet. If that's covered under the warranty, it's the Sports Palace part, and they said, no, that's not what we fixed. But we're gonna check into to see if the warranty was gonna cover the one on the Buchanan side.
Yeah. So
We
our
have
rec
heard that.
manager is working on it, but yeah, I
Still no price tag on that yet either.
know.
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay,
And, well, sorry, I just wanna piggyback on this splash park. Cause I do believe the general public think that it's paid for through the Buchanan Foundation. How are we going to let them know that it's not 100% paid for?
ideas?
I don't know if there's any way of doing it without really sort of disrespecting the people that give you the money.
Yeah.
right? And that you know, for what we're going to get for the children of the town. You know what? This is where we're at. And it's the whole thing of not being able to move on something right away. Who's to say if we would have got it started last year, if it would cost the same amount? But that's the thing, right? There were things that they were planning on doing that they could not do, right? In terms of the water flow and stuff like that. So they had to change those plans and it cost money.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, but that isn't what was sold to the public. What was sold to the public was they were gonna have this recycling system, it was gonna be state of the art, this is what they voted on. And now
No.
it's changed, the,
But one of the, if I can add one thing, like, I know, oh, sorry. One of the things I can add is this was one of the items that our rec master plan identified as something that the community wanted. Was the water park, and I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's a very low cost. It's not zero, but it is a very low cost for what we're getting. So I don't think people would be more upset with us if we let that money go. Or if we put in when we looked at it, if you went with just the 400 or 450, the number of features was,
That's a joke.
it wasn't very impressive at all. Like, just a few features. So this is it's got more features, not like a big fancy one, but it's as I say, it's sort of the middle of the road one. That would be decent.
People understand how much this thing costs, and they know how much we're getting from the Buchanan family. They know that there's a cost associated with this. The vast majority of the cost is being borne by the Buchanan Foundation. There is no way, like John said, there's no way for us to come out and say, Buchanan's donated this much, but we did this much, because that's really disrespecting the incredibly generous gift that they are giving the town. Was there numbers on that last year? Ballpark numbers? I think.
yes, there was.
Okay, so people can act, right? So they know that, when they were doing it, it's like it was X amount of dollars. Buchanan's are giving us Y amount of dollars, so we're contributing Z amount of dollars to make it a reality. And like Brian said, if we don't build this, people are gonna be way more mad.
Okay, I'll move my report for information. All in favor? Carried. Moving on, Councillor Stenhouse.
No.
Councillor Wakel.
I guess stole my thunder with most of the rec board stuff. Again. We did take a tour of the facility, up staircase I'd never been up before. Seeing some of the unused space on the Gordon Buchanan side, that is, there's a vision for it. CM's got a plan. Of course, these plans, it's not a tomorrow plan, it's a long-term plan. The golf simulators, as Brian said, are on the way. I think the plan is initially to set them up. And I think there's 2 coming, is there not?
I'm not sure.
I thought it was 2.
Okay, might be.
So there's 2 golf simulators coming up. And the initial plan is to set them up in the auditorium part because they can be they'd be torn down fairly easily. And stored, and the auditorium, CM said, has been rented 5 times this year so far. So it's generating no income. You put golf simulators in there and people are gonna be in there playing some golf, some simulated golf. It's very popular. People make days out of this, going to wherever they're at. I think there's some in Slave Lake and that's why I really feel that this is going to be a really good boon for the community. Yeah, went through the whole facility. It needs some TLC. That upstairs, when you go up in the front doors, up and to the right, there's a lot of interior walls that need to be taken out. That's where the courthouse was when the provincial building burnt down in the 80s. So they had it up there because that used to be wide open. There's windows actually that look down onto the ice. The plan is eventually to have golf simulators up there, and then parents can be golfing while their kids are practicing or in between games or whatever. So you're generating 2 forms of income, plus have some premium seating where you're watching the game from upstairs. So there's that. I'm excited about what CM's got planned there for the for recreation. Library board met the other night and the library's doing well, updating some personnel.
Better Sally, do you think?
Yes. Enough said about that. That's such a kettle of worms. So that is my report and I'll move that for information.
Hey, any questions?
So just to, you're setting up this golf simulator in the auditorium and then moving it upstairs?
Yes. Yes, because they tear down fairly easily, right?
So when are you moving it upstairs?
Once upstairs is renovated,
If and when it gets renovated.
and that's, I think, would she have $150,000 or $250,000?
Yeah, it's like she didn't have a firm price yet and we'd have to bring it to council.
Okay, so as soon as it comes in, you're setting it up in the auditorium, but if that's not its permanent home, once you renovate it, it goes upstairs.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Expect to see you all there.
Anything else? All in favor? Councillor Yashin.
I had the one meeting at CSS met, we met actually just this Monday or yesterday. So, but it, nothing, there wasn't anything really too major. Basically the meeting kind of consisted of the manager's report. So, Nicole was giving us some updates. She went over kind of, well, actually in quite detail, went over, just some of the things that they're doing. Some of those things are like birthday cards. They send out once a month. They send out 750 cards, which is amazing. That almost seems like a full-time job in itself. But they're pretty efficient at it. So they're already planning for the Christmas hampers, for the Christmas coming up in 2025. They kind of went over what they did last year. There were 72 hampers delivered in 2024 Christmas. The family day events, there was some planning that they were talking about is going on, and out in the county as well. So that's GSAR, Gerard, so.
Yeah, when's that?
I think that's in May.
Family Day.
I thought it was
February.
March.
Oh,
Well, then they recapped what they did this last one in February, and they're planning for the next again.
Okay,
So, yeah, but anyway, so these numbers would have been from this February. The volunteer appreciation, they were asking us if we had it in our little newsletter that goes out with our bills, just to get it out there for people to volunteer. If volunteer people, I should say. The community cupboards, they mentioned, she mentioned that they're used really, really a lot. That's really, really popular in all the hamlets. So that's ongoing there as well. What else was there? And just the community garden, there's some more wooden boxes that are, which is kind of interesting, that they're doing that. So they have the wooden boxes, they're community gardens for anybody to plant, whatever they want. I know we had somebody come to council, I don't think anything ever really, that I think too much. It would take a bit to organize, and then of course you really need the place for it, but also the boxes, but it would actually be really nice to see that in Hyper here in town as well. What did I have? Oh, yeah, so one of the major things was, well, not major, but it always comes up, is the bus and the ridership with the bus. It's used a lot, like it is extremely, extremely popular, and people use it all the time. And then, of course, people from the High Prairie ridership to Slave Lake is usually the most ridership there. We talked about the driver who it was before was his contract was per day. Now it's more per hour. So we talked about the fact that when they leave from here, they're heading to Slave Lake. When they get there, it's about 10, 11 o'clock, and it leaves again at 1:30, and it's just not leaving a whole lot of time. So there was some discussion on how do we make that, how is that made to be a longer day? Well, the only other way is to do overtime for the driver. So that may be something that, because they would want everybody contributing, I guess, in it, that we may see, but that's still just really in the first talk of how that day could be longer. They prioritize medical first, so when they're taking the names of people who are going on whatever specific day, the medical is always first, and then the shopping is always after. But just again, it was just to highlight the fact that that's one of the biggest things that's quite popular with that. No, that was it, I guess. Like I said, it was just mostly just a review of what's coming up and what went on in February. I reported if there's any questions.
Okay, anything for Councilor Ishishin? Councilor Waco?
the driver.
Yeah,
So it goes, they pay them by the hour now.
yeah, it was by the day before.
So then why don't they just go back to the way it was? Because I know that the way it was before was very popular with the
Yes,
riders.
it was.
And then when they changed drivers, they changed the way the contract is done.
Yep.
So just go back to the way it was.
It's gonna be discussed. Yeah, it's something that has to, something has to be addressed with it, absolutely.
Yeah, well, because what is it, 10 gets to say like at 10:30?
It's about 10:30,
And then they leave at 1?
1:30.
Now, if you're going for a medical appointment, we've all sat in the hospital for more than 4 or 5 hours,
I did the other thing.
It's,
right? So,
it's causing a concern.
yeah,
But the bus is not the only thing. They have medical transport, like they have private drivers who do medical transport. The bus is not the only way to get to medical appointment.
Yeah, but
It's used, yeah, people use ear, yeah, you're right.
you're right, there are other ways, but I mean, this is. If they, let's say they book their appointment for 11. And bus gets to Slave Lake at 10:30, drops them off. And they sit there until 1 o'clock and they haven't got in yet. That's not outside the realm of possibility. Like I said, we've all sat in the hospital for hours. Right? Something happens, doctor gets called away. Right? So I don't know. I think if they go back the way it was, I know the riders are happy with that.
And it's like this dentist appointments too, where you have, you know,
Like get in there, you start
Yeah,
taking.
and you're assuming it's a doctor's appointment.
Yeah, it could be anything.
I'm assuming it's probably dental, massage, something other than that.
Okay, she moved to report for information, all in favor? It's carried. Mr. Martins?
I'm so sorry, I was looking over my notes, but I didn't update you guys on the Towns West meeting, I think everyone was invited, it was last week. And they introduced the new CEO and, just discussed two issues, one were social issues and the other one was deficits, and everyone could contribute. Same story as ours, nothing, Peace, the mayor from Peace was there, I mean, people that we knew around the table, just wanted to throw that in there because I attended.
All right, we'll take a break and then we'll do our last little session there.